This leads the African National Congress Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the party has entered a critical phase of renewal. Mbalula was addressing the media on the outcomes of the national Lekgotla, and he says that the ANC is committed to rebuilding and expanding its membership. Let's speak now to SABC News reporter Samkele Maseko, who's been tracking this story for us. Samkele, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. A lot to talk about as far as that particular briefing is concerned, but they talk about this critical phase of renewal. What does it look like?
They're essentially saying, Bongiwa, that they're in a critical phase of renewal, knowing the electoral losses on the 29th of May 2024, where the ANC dipped under 50% and can no longer govern the country alone, and they're co-governing with the Democratic Alliance. They're essentially saying that in order for South Africans to trust the ANC again and to give it its votes come electioneering period, the ANC must renew itself. It must rid itself of all allegations of corruption, money laundering, fraud, and also not being in touch with its electoral base. Essentially saying they will be using eThekwini municipality as a guide on how to renew the organization, particularly knowing the work that their ANC NEC member and the mayor of the eThekwini municipality, Cyril is doing, essentially saying that the ANC will no longer be tolerating ill discipline, any allegations of fraud and corruption against their leaders. They will be taking swift and prompt action on any allegations any senior leader of the party faces.
And they're also talking about the fact that they want to raise the quality of its leadership and members, something that's not new. How do they plan on doing this?
It's not yet clear how they plan on doing this, but they did earlier on, later last year, issue out that particular ANC political school that all members of the ANC will have to reapply to be members of the party. They'd have to write an essay on why they want to be members of the party, alluding to that particular illusion that the ANC's former provincial secretary of KwaZulu-Natal, Mdumiseni Ntuli, would speak about, saying that a renewed ANC beyond a particular valley would have to change and its outlook and how it recruits members back into the organization, that it would no longer be recruiting in mass. It will be looking at quality over mass that would join the party. So basically saying that they want quality over quantity. And
Samkele also talking about, developments that we're also seeing as well outside of the party. That is, the Secretary General speaking about the, the tensions in the Eastern DRC as well, saying that the Department of Defense will brief the media, but he went at length as well to speak about just how that issue is quite a complicated one and simply not as clear-cut as some people may think.
Indeed, Bongiwe, he did speak on the issue of the conflict currently in the Great Lakes region, speaking about why South African soldiers are currently within that area of Goma, that they've been sent there as part of a United Nations peacekeeping mission that essentially began in December around August 2023, 2003 rather, August 2003. That was during the era of former President Mbeki, and that successively went forth into the era of former President Mbeki, former President Zuma, and ultimately now President Cyril Ramaphosa, where South Africa has been part of this peacekeeping mission within the Great Lakes region, particularly around Goma, in that conflict that is there between the DRC and those M23 rebels, particularly essentially saying they want peace within that area. They're not there to perpetuate a war. They want peace within that particular region, and also demystifying that South African troops have been sent to die within that particular Great Lakes region, saying that they were sent there without any ammunition, without any food, and essentially speaking also about that video that has been circulating on social media of those South African troops basically hoisting a white flag, which means surrender in war or conflict area terms, essentially saying that the Department of Defense will tomorrow clarify what is currently happening within Goma and those South African soldiers who have lost their lives in this conflict that is currently there, saying President Ramaphosa is also engaged with discussions with other heads of states, particularly with the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, yesterday, where they spoke extensively of this issue, just like South Africa called for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, and particularly between Israel and Palestine. They are also calling for a ceasefire within the Great Lakes region. We did see a number of African presidents engaging on this issue, and also did see South African representative to the United Nations speaking in the Emergency Security Council meeting today, essentially alluding that Rwanda may be part of the problem in the instance that they are alleging that Rwanda is in cahoots with M23. Those are obviously some of the words of the South African representative at the United Nations, particularly speaking at the Emergency UN Security Council meeting today.
And Samkele, lastly then, the police minister also speaking about an issue of concern which he says he's concerned about, and that's the developments around the provincial commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal, and saying that there will be an address by the commissioner soon.
He did say ANC NEC member Senzo Mchunu also happens to be the Minister of Police within the country, that the police commissioner Fanny Musamula will address this issue of the allegations against the provincial commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, General Fikile, the minister or ANC NEC member in this instance, in his capacity in his deployment in government, essentially also saying that he had hoped that these allegations would have flowed through the proper channels within the police ministry, as opposed to going through WhatsApp and being on social media, but they will deal with the matter, and also saying that it is unfair for the provincial commissioner to be slandered in public without him going through a proper clearance or hearing within the police department. He also spoke earlier on yesterday on these particular allegations, and how he is saying that he has touched a nerve when it comes to investigations, particularly when it involves senior top brass police officers, by touching those who are their foot soldiers at lower and local level of policing.
All right, Samkele, thank you so much for wrapping that for us. That's my colleague, the SABC News reporter, Samkele Maseko.